Creators, protectors, destroyers. This is Vaaksh, where the gods speak.
Before the stars were born, before time began to move, before the first breath of creation, there was only darkness. An endless void, silent and formless. But within that void, I existed. I am Vishnu, the eternal, the timeless, the unchanging. I do not begin. I do not end. I am the breath within all things. I am the rhythm of time itself. As I lay in the great cosmic ocean, resting upon the endless coils of Anantashisha, the thousand-hooded serpent, I dreamt. And from that dream, the universe began to take form. A golden lotus bloomed from the depths of my navel, rising above the cosmic waters. And upon that lotus sat Brahma, the creator. With 4 faces to gaze upon the vastness of existence, he opened his eyes. And with a single breath, the great cycle of creation began. From Brahma's hands, the cosmos was shaped. The skies and the lands, the oceans and the mountains, the creatures of land, sea, and air, all came into being. The worlds turned in harmony, their destinies unfolding according to the eternal law, the law that you call Dharma. But creation alone is not enough. With life comes struggle. With light, there is shadow. With existence, there is destruction. And so, I took upon myself a sacred duty. To protect the balance of the universe. To guard Dharma. To ensure that when the world is threatened by chaos, I will rise. When darkness grows beyond control, I will return. I am Vishnu, the preserver of the universe. The Eternal One, the guardian of Dharma. Listen well, O children of the cosmos, for I shall reveal to you a truth as old as time itself. The universe does not exist in stillness. It is not eternal in form. It is not unchanging. It breathes, it expands and contracts. It is born, and it dies only to be reborn again. Just as a seed becomes a tree, and a tree returns to the earth, so too does the universe cycle through creation and dissolution. Brahma is the creator, the one who weaves the fabric of reality, giving birth to worlds and beings. But in time, all things decay. As the rivers carve the mountains, as the stars collapse into dust, as kings rise and fall, so too must the universe itself crumble, only to be born anew. And I am the force that holds the world together. I am the thread that weaves through all that is. Without me, there is no harmony, only ruin. My presence is the rhythm of the universe, the unseen force that sustains creation. I do not merely witness the flow of time. I am the tide that guides it forward. I am the force that keeps the world from dissolving into chaos. When demons rise, when greed devours righteousness, when suffering eclipses joy, I descend. This is why I have walked the earth so many times. This is why, throughout the ages, I have taken many forms. For each age I come anew, not as myself, but as one of you. In times of peril, when darkness threatens to consume the world, I am reborn, and I fight. 10 times I have taken form. 10 times I have walked among mortals. These are my avatars. Each with a purpose, each with a task, each to restore balance to the world. Let me tell you the story of the first. The first time I descended upon the world, it was to save existence itself from drowning in darkness. It began with a theft so great that it threatened the very foundation of creation itself. Deep within the cosmic ocean, where light had never touched, a powerful asura named Hayagriva lurked. He was not like others of his kind. His hunger was not for land or riches, nor for mere conquest. No, he craved something far greater. Knowledge, power over the very breath of creation. And so, as Brahma, the creator, closed his eyes in deep meditation, Hayagriva seized his moment. In one swift motion, he stole the Vedas, the sacred scriptures, the essence of wisdom, the knowledge of the universe itself. With the Vedas in his grasp, he vanished into the depths of the cosmic ocean, hiding away in the shadows of the abyss. The moment the Vedas were taken, the universe trembled. The balance of Dharma was broken. The earth groaned as the skies darkened. The winds howled, and the great ocean, restless and enraged, began to rise. The waters surged, swallowing the land. The great flood had begun. The world was drowning. But this was not the end. The great dissolution, the pralaya, had not yet been decreed. This was not the time for the world to sink into oblivion. And so, I descended. I did not come as a king. I did not come as a warrior. I took no sword, no shield, no chariot of the gods. No, I became the very force that could navigate the storm. I became Matsya, the great and golden fish. With scales that shimmered like molten gold, with a body vast enough to traverse the endless sea, I emerged from the depths, cutting through the rising waves, seeking the one who had defied the sacred order. Through the churning waters I dove deeper, where darkness reigned and silence held dominion. And there, in the abyss, I found him. Hayagriva, clutching the stolen Vedas, his form twisted with arrogance and greed, his very presence polluting the sacred knowledge he had no right to wield. He believed he had won. He believed that the wisdom of creation was his to possess, that with it, he could reshape existence as he saw fit. But knowledge is not a weapon. Wisdom is not a prize to be stolen. The Vedas are not bound to any one being. They are the breath of the cosmos, the rhythm of time itself. A battle raged in the depths of the great ocean, unseen by mortal eyes. The waters trembled with our clash, the very fabric of the universe shuddering as light and darkness met in combat. The currents twisted and roared, the tides surging as I struck against the chaos that sought to consume all. The waves became a battlefield, a storm of divine fury. The abyss itself quaked beneath my power, for I was not merely a creature of the sea. I was the tide that no force could resist, the currents bent to my will, the ocean itself my ally. And in the end, the darkness fell. The demon's strength crumbled before the force of Dharma, and with one final surge, I reclaimed what was never his to take. The Vedas, freed from their prison, rose from the depths, their radiance piercing through the darkness. I carried them back to Brahma, restoring the sacred order, returning wisdom to its rightful place. The flood began to subside, the skies cleared, and balance was restored once more. This was my first descent, but it would not be my last. The cycle had begun, and I knew that soon the world would call upon me again. For where there is darkness, I shall bring light. Where there is chaos, I shall restore harmony. Where there is suffering, I shall return again and again. After the first great descent as Matsya, the cycle of Dharma continued. The universe moved forward, but balance is delicate, always shifting, always in need of restoration. And so, when the world was once again thrown into chaos, I returned, this time, not as a fish that swam through the cosmic ocean, but as a being that could bear the weight of the heavens themselves. This is the story of my second avatar, Kurma, the great tortoise. A form I took to save the gods, to restore Amrita, the nectar of immortality, and to prevent the forces of darkness from seizing eternal power. The trouble began when the Devas, the celestial beings, the keepers of order, grew weak. Their strength was fading, their power diminishing. The Asuras, beings of immense strength, driven by their hunger for control, saw this weakness and seized their moment. They launched an unrelenting assault upon the heavens, forcing the Devas into retreat. It seemed as though darkness would soon consume the celestial realm. The Devas, desperate for salvation, turned to Brahma, and Brahma in turn sought my guidance. The answer was clear. The only way to restore their strength was with Amrita, the divine nectar, the elixir of immortality, hidden deep within the great ocean of milk, the Shira Sagara. But the nectar would not be given freely. It lay concealed beneath the ocean's depths, beyond mortal and immortal reach. It could only be brought forth through the churning of the cosmic ocean, a task so great, so arduous, that neither the Devas nor the Asuras could achieve it alone. And so, I devised a plan, one that would require an uneasy alliance. The Devas and Asuras, sworn enemies, would have to work together. They would churn the ocean using Mount Mandara as a churning rod, and Vasuki, the great serpent, as the rope to turn it. In return, the Asuras were promised a share of the nectar. It was an alliance of necessity, fragile and filled with treachery. But even the greatest plans face obstacles. As soon as they placed Mount Mandara into the ocean and began to churn, the mountain, without a firm foundation, began to sink. The weight was too great, and the ocean threatened to swallow the endeavor before it had even begun. Without a base, without support, the churning could not continue. Without the churning, the nectar would never be found. All would be lost. It was then that I descended once more. Taking the form of Kurma, the great tortoise, I submerged myself beneath the waters and placed Mount Mandara upon my back. I bore its immense weight, holding firm, unshaken by the storm of forces above. The ocean churned, the mountain spun, and Vasuki, the great serpent, coiled around it, pulled back and forth by the might of gods and demons alike. With each turn, the ocean raged. Waves crashed, lightning crackled, and the world trembled as treasures long hidden in the abyss surfaced. Gems of celestial brilliance, divine beings, powerful artifacts. But the ocean did not give up its greatest secret so easily. As the churning continued, poison arose from the depths, a venom so potent that it threatened to destroy all creation. The very air burned with its fumes, the skies darkened, and the Devas and Asuras alike recoiled in terror. This was Halahala, a poison so deadly that even the gods feared its touch. Destruction loomed, but it was not my role to consume this poison. That burden fell upon another, the great Shiva, the cosmic destroyer, the one who bore the weight of sacrifice for the sake of existence. Without hesitation, he drank the poison, holding it in his throat, neither swallowing nor spitting it out, staining his neck forever blue. In that moment, Shiva became Nilkanth, the blue-throated one, the savior of all. With the poison contained, the churning resumed. The ocean raged, and at last, the divine nectar surfaced, Amrita, the gift of immortality, the essence of divinity itself. But as the Devas reached for it, the Asuras revealed their true nature. Greed overtook them, and they seized the nectar, intending to claim it all for themselves. I could not allow that. And so, I took yet another form. As the beautiful and enchanting Mohini, I walked among the Asuras, mesmerizing them with divine grace. Lost in their desire, they handed me the nectar willingly, believing they had won. But I deceived them, ensuring that only the Devas drank the Amrita. As the Asuras realized their folly, it was too late. The balance had been restored, and their chance at immortality was lost forever. With the nectar secured, the Devas regained their strength. The heavens were saved, and order was restored. And as the mountain was lifted from my back, I withdrew once more, my purpose fulfilled. But the cycle of Dharma never ends. Balance must always be maintained, and I knew I would return again. The universe is vast, beyond mortal comprehension. Yet, even in its vastness, there are moments when darkness creeps in, when chaos threatens to consume order. And so, when the balance of existence was once again disturbed, I descended once more, this time as Varaha, the great cosmic boar. It began with an Asura named Hiranyaksha, a demon of immense strength and arrogance. Blinded by his power, he sought to prove his supremacy over the gods. He waged war against the Devas, striking terror into their hearts, forcing them to flee from the heavens. But his thirst for destruction did not stop there. He turned his wrath toward the very foundation of creation, the earth itself. In an act of unthinkable defiance, Hiranyaksha plunged into the cosmic ocean and seized the earth, dragging it into the abyss. The world, which had once rested in perfect balance, was now lost beneath the dark waters. Mountains crumbled, rivers were swallowed, forests disappeared into the depths. The earth, My sacred creation was drowning. The cries of the sages, the prayers of the gods, echoed through the universe. Brahma himself looked to me, and I knew I must descend once more. From the heavens I took form, not as a warrior, not as a king, but as a boar. A form vast enough to bear the weight of the earth itself, powerful enough to challenge the demon who had dared to disrupt the cosmic order. With a roar that shook the skies, I leaped into the ocean, my tusks gleaming like the sun, my hooves striking the waves with divine force. I plunged into the abyss, deeper than any light had ever reached. The waters grew colder, the darkness heavier. But I was undeterred. I saw the earth submerged, trembling in the grasp of the demon. And beyond her, I saw Hiranyaksha, his eyes burning with arrogance, his laughter echoing through the void. He thought himself invincible. He believed no god would dare challenge him in his domain. But he had underestimated the force of Dharma, the power that sustains all existence. With a surge of divine strength, I lifted the earth upon my tusks. Her weight was great, but my will was greater. As I began my ascent, Hiranyaksha roared in fury. He rushed toward me, his fists like thunder, his strike shaking the very fabric of reality. The ocean trembled as we clashed, waves rising like mountains, the heavens shuddering at our battle. Blow after blow, the demon struck, but I did not falter. The weight of the earth did not slow me. For I am Vishnu, the preserver of balance, the guardian of creation. And in the end, no force of darkness can stand against the light of Dharma. With one final strike, I cast the demon down, his form dissolving into the abyss, his arrogance shattered. Balance was restored. The waters calmed. And as I emerged from the ocean, I placed the earth once more upon her rightful place, steady, secure, and at peace. Thus, the world was saved from destruction. But this was not the last time that evil would rise. For as long as there is darkness, I shall return. As long as there is suffering, I shall descend. This is my duty, this is my promise, and the cycle continues. Evil does not always come in the form of demons. Sometimes it is born from pride, sometimes it hides behind power, and sometimes it thrives even in the hearts of those who once worshipped the divine. Such was the tale of Hiranyakashipu, the Asura king who sought to rule not only the earth, but the heavens themselves. He was the brother of Hiranyaksha, the demon I had slain as Varaha. Fueled by vengeance, Hiranyakashipu abandoned all devotion and turned to severe penance, performing austerity so great that even the heavens trembled. Brahma, pleased by his unwavering devotion, granted him a boon, one that would make him nearly indestructible. Let no man nor beast nor god be the cause of my death. Let me not be slain in the day or the night. Let me not be killed indoors nor outside. Let no weapon pierce me. Let no force of this world or the next end my life. And so, with this boon, Hiranyakashipu became invincible. His arrogance knew no bounds. He conquered the three worlds, subjugated the gods, and declared himself supreme. He demanded that none worship Vishnu. He sought to erase my name from existence. But even in his own home, devotion remained. His son, Prahlada, was different. The boy, pure of heart, saw the truth beyond power. Even as his father raged, even as threats surrounded him, Prahlada remained steadfast in his faith. Vishnu is everywhere, the boy would say. He is in the wind that whispers, in the fire that burns, in the earth beneath our feet, in the sky above. He is within all, beyond all. Hiranyakashipu's fury was boundless. He tried to break his son's devotion, but no weapon, no threat could shake Prahlada's faith. And so, in his final act of defiance, Hiranyakashipu pointed at a pillar in his palace and thundered, "If your God is everywhere, then let him appear before me now." And so, I did. From the pillar, a sound erupted, a roar so deafening that the heavens quaked. The sky turned red, the air grew thick with divine energy. And from the stone I emerged, not as man nor as beast, but as both. I was Narasimha, the half-lion, half-man, a form neither god nor mortal, neither one nor the other. My eyes burned with the fire of justice. My claws, sharp as the edge of fate itself, gleamed in the twilight. Hiranyakashipu recoiled, but it was too late. His boon had made him fearless, but it had also made him blind. He had covered every possibility, yet he had left room for Dharma to find its path. It was neither day nor night, it was the hour of twilight, the moment between moments. I dragged him to the threshold, neither indoors nor outside. I used no weapon, for I needed none. With my claws, I tore through his arrogance, through his pride, through the illusion of invincibility he had wrapped himself in. And as his final breath escaped, the world was free of his tyranny. The gods rejoiced, the balance restored. But my rage had not yet faded. The fury of Narasimha was boundless, the wrath of Dharma unrelenting. The cosmos trembled at the force of my anger, for justice had been served, but righteousness burned still. It was then that Prahlada, pure in heart, approached me, not with fear, but with devotion. "Lord," he said, "your work is done. Let there be peace." And so I calmed. The storm subsided. Balance returned. And I vanished once more into the vastness of existence, my purpose fulfilled. For darkness shall rise again, and when it does, I shall return. For as long as the world turns, as long as evil takes form, as long as there is even one soul calling for justice, Vishnu shall descend. Power, when unchecked, grows like a storm, unstoppable, merciless, consuming all in its path. And so, when the Asura king Bali rose to power, conquering both earth and the heavens, I knew balance had once again been disturbed. Bali was unlike other Asuras. He was not cruel like Hiranyakashipu. He did not seek chaos for pleasure. He was strong, wise, and generous. But power, even when wielded with good intent, can blind its bearer. And Bali, in his conquest, had claimed dominion over realms beyond his right. Even the gods had bowed before him, and once again, Dharma stood at a crossroads. I did not descend as a warrior. I did not wield weapons, nor did I summon storms. No, this time I took the form of a simple Brahmin dwarf, Vamana, small and unassuming. Disguised as a humble seeker, I walked into Bali's grand court, where riches overflowed and power radiated like the sun. Bali, in his pride, welcomed me with open arms. "Ask for anything, O Brahmin," he said. "Gold, jewels, kingdoms, I shall grant you whatever you wish." I smiled. "I ask for nothing but 3 paces of land, O king, nothing more, nothing less." His court fell silent. Laughter echoed through the halls. 3 paces? Bali asked, amused. "I own the 3 worlds. Ask for more, and I shall grant it. Why settle for so little?" But I insisted. And so, with a smirk, Bali agreed, swearing by his word as a king. And in that moment, the deception of power was shattered. I grew. The small form of Vamana expanded, stretching beyond the skies, beyond the stars. My feet planted deep into the earth, my head touching the farthest reaches of the cosmos. I became Trivikrama, the giant whose steps would measure creation itself. With my first step, I covered the entire earth. Lands, rivers, mountains, all fell beneath my stride. With my second step, I covered the heavens, reclaiming what had been seized. There was no space left. No world remained untouched by my presence. Bali, the once mighty conqueror, looked up at me. He had everything, and yet he had nothing left to give. I asked, "Where shall I place my 3rd step, O king?" And in that moment, Bali understood. Power is not in what one owns. Power is in surrender, in humility, in recognizing one's place in the grand scheme of Dharma. He knelt, and with folded hands he spoke, "Place your foot upon my head. O Lord, I give myself to you." And so I did. With my final step, I sent Bali to Sutala, a realm deep within creation, where he would rule not as a tyrant, not as a conqueror, but as a king who had learned the greatest truth of all, that true power lies not in dominion over others, but in the surrender to Dharma. Thus, balance was restored once more. The gods reclaimed their heavens, the earth found peace. And I, Vishnu, had fulfilled my purpose for now, but this was not the end. Darkness would rise again, and when it did, I would return. Again and again, until the end of time. The balance of Dharma is delicate, like a sword's edge. When kings forget their duty, when warriors turn to tyranny, when power is no longer guided by righteousness, the world trembles. And so, when the Kshatriyas, those meant to protect, became oppressors, I descended once more. This time not as a king, not as a god, but as a warrior sage. This time I came as Parashurama, the one who wields the axe. I was born to the great sage Jamadagni and his wife, Renuka. From birth, my destiny was set, not of luxury nor of peace, but of fire and retribution. Even as a child, I could see the corruption spreading among the warrior class. The kings, drunk on their own might, plundered and burned, their greed boundless, their hunger insatiable. The people suffered, the land wept, and Dharma cried out for justice. It was then that I received my weapon, a divine axe, gifted to me by none other than Mahadeva, Lord Shiva himself. With it, I swore an oath. I would cleanse the earth of the tyranny of corrupt warriors. I would rid the world of those who had forsaken their duty. And so, my war began. The blood of injustice ran deep, and so my fury had to be deeper. The Kshatriyas had become relentless in their oppression. They stole from the weak, defied the gods, and sought only conquest. I met them with equal force. Not once, not twice, but 21 times I wiped the earth clean of the unworthy rulers who had forsaken Dharma. Kingdom after kingdom, throne after throne, I reduced to dust. The rivers ran red, the mountains echoed with the cries of battle, and the earth trembled beneath my feet. But justice is not mere destruction, and vengeance is not Dharma. With each battle, I came to understand this truth. A world without warriors is as imbalanced as a world ruled by tyrants. And so when my task was complete, I did not seek to rule. I did not seek power. Instead, I retreated to the forests, to penance, to solitude. For a warrior's duty is not to conquer, but to restore balance. My axe, once bathed in the blood of kings, was laid to rest. The land healed. The Kshatriyas who remained, those who had not forsaken Dharma, rebuilt what was lost. And I faded into the silence, waiting, watching, for the cycle never ends. Kings shall rise again. Some shall uphold righteousness, others shall forget. And when the time comes, if ever the world calls out once more for justice, then, even in the shadows of time, Parashurama shall rise again. For I am Vishnu, the preserver, and balance must always be restored. Among all my forms, there is one that stands as the embodiment of virtue, the highest ideal of duty and righteousness. A prince, a warrior, a husband, a son, a king, each role bound by the unshakable laws of Dharma. This is the story of Rama, the 7th of my 10 descents. Born into the noble lineage of the Ikshvaku dynasty, I took the form of Rama, the eldest son of King Dashavatara of Ayodhya. From the moment of my birth, the weight of responsibility was upon my shoulders. As a prince, I was trained in war, in governance, and in the ways of righteousness. I was to be the perfect king, just wise and unwavering in duty. But fate does not allow one to walk the easy path. A promise given, a word sworn, can shape the course of history. On the day of my coronation, destiny took a cruel turn. My stepmother, Kaichi, bound by an old boon granted by my father, demanded that I be exiled for 14 years. And my father, bound by the oath of a king, had no choice but to send me away. Without anger, without defiance, I embraced my fate, for a promise once given must be honored. Alongside me walked my beloved wife, Sita, and my loyal brother, Lakshmana. We left the golden palace of Ayodhya for the deep forests, where we lived not as royals, but as ascetics. And in those years of exile, the greatest battle of my incarnation would unfold. For in the shadows of Lanka, a demon king plotted his conquest. Ravana, the 10-headed ruler of the Rakshasas, who had conquered worlds, whose arrogance knew no bounds, set his eyes upon Sita. Deception and power were his weapons, and with them he stole away my beloved. But know this, fate may test the righteous, but it never abandons them. I raised my bow, the divine Kodanda, and with the aid of the mighty Vanara king Sugriva, the fearless Hanuman, and an army of warriors, I marched upon Lanka itself. The war was unlike any before it. Rakshasas clashed against the forces of Dharma. The sky turned red with fire and ash. Lanka, once a city of gold, became a battlefield of destruction. And then, finally, it came the Battle of Battles, the moment where Dharma would stand against Adharma, where light would meet darkness. I faced Ravana, the unshakable, the indestructible. His 10 heads roared with fury, his many arms wielding weapons forged in the fires of the underworld. No arrow could strike him down, for he was protected by boons granted by the gods themselves. But there is one truth that no boon can change: evil, no matter how powerful, cannot stand against righteousness. I called upon my greatest weapon, the Brahmastra, a divine arrow charged with the power of creation itself. And with one swift release, it found its mark. Ravana, the once mighty king of Lanka, fell, and with his fall, the world was freed from his tyranny. Victory was ours, Sita was returned, the exile had ended. And yet, my trials were not over. For a king is bound not only to his own heart, but to his people. Doubt crept into the minds of my subjects, doubt that questioned Sita's purity after her captivity in Lanka. And so, with the weight of a kingdom upon my soul, I made the hardest decision of all. I let her go. This was my fate, my duty. A ruler must walk alone, must sacrifice even his own happiness for the greater good. This was the burden of Rama, the burden of Dharma itself. And so I ruled, not as a man, but as an ideal. A king not for himself, but for his people. And when my time upon this earth was done, I did not cling to my throne. I did not fear the end. I walked into the sacred waters of the Sarayu, returning once more to my eternal form, for my purpose had been fulfilled. But remember this, the tale of Rama is not just a story of war, nor a tale of loss. It is the path of righteousness, a light that guides even in the darkest times. Whenever duty calls, whenever sacrifice is required, whenever the world forgets the meaning of Dharma, Rama shall live on in the hearts of those who follow the path of truth. For I am Vishnu, the preserver, and righteousness must always be upheld. Among my many forms, there is one that is beloved beyond measure, a name whispered in devotion, sung in joy, and revered in wisdom. A child of mischief, a lover of melodies, a guide to the lost, a warrior of destiny. I am Krishna, the 8th of my divine descents. When darkness rose once again, when tyrants crushed the weak, when greed and ambition threatened the very fabric of Dharma, I descended into the world, not as a king, not as a warrior alone, but as a friend, a lover, a teacher, a savior. My birth itself was a miracle, for the moment I entered this world, chains were broken and walls crumbled. In the prison of Mathura, under the shadow of the cruel king Kamsa, my mother Devaki gave birth to me. Kamsa, fearing a prophecy that foretold his death at my hands, sought to destroy me as he had slain my elder brothers, but fate is not so easily written. In the dead of night, I was carried across the river Yamuna to the village of Gokul, where I was raised among the cowherds, free from the grasp of tyranny. Ah, those days of youth! A time of joy, of laughter, of stolen butter and playful pranks. I danced upon the banks of the Yamuna, my flute weaving melodies that enchanted the very wind. But even in those days of innocence, the shadows of darkness loomed. Demons were sent to end me: Putana, the poison nurse; Aghasura, the serpent; Kaliya, the many-hooded terror of the river. Each one fell, for none could stand against the will of the divine. But I was not here merely to play. Destiny called me forth. The time had come to face Kamsa, the tyrant who had ruled through fear, and so I walked into his court, unarmed, smiling. He scoffed, thinking me but a boy. He raised his weapons, and in the next moment, I ended his reign with but a single strike. Mathura was freed, yet my task was far from over. For the greatest battle of this age had yet to come, the war that would shake the very foundations of the world. A war not of men, but of Dharma itself, the Kurukshetra war. Two clans, bound by blood yet divided by fate, the Pandavas, righteous but exiled, and the Kauravas, consumed by greed. I stood between them, not as a warrior, but as a charioteer, to one who would change the course of history. Arjuna, the mightiest of archers, the hero of the Pandavas, stood upon the battlefield, his heart burdened by doubt. Before him stood his own kin, his own elders, his own friends, ready to fight, ready to die. And in that moment of despair, when the weight of war crushed his soul, he turned to me. "Tell me, Krishna," he said, "what is the right path? How can I raise my weapon against those I love?" And so, upon that sacred battlefield, I spoke the Bhagavad Gita, the song of the divine. I revealed the eternal truth, that life is but a moment, the soul is immortal, and duty must be upheld above all. "You grieve for those who should not be grieved, Arjuna," I said. "Raise your bow, for it is not the body that perishes, but only the shell. The soul is eternal, untouched by flame, undiminished by time. Do your duty without attachment, without fear. Act not for reward, but because it is right." With those words, the storm of war was unleashed. The Kurukshetra battlefield became a stage for the greatest clash of righteousness and ambition. And in the end, Dharma prevailed. But at a great cost. The world was changed. The Yadava clan, my own people, met their destined end, and I too had fulfilled my purpose. In the quiet forest of Dwarka, I sat beneath a tree, watching as the final moments of this incarnation approached. A hunter's arrow, mistaken, found its mark upon my foot. But do not weep, for I was not slain. No, my time had simply come. I closed my eyes, and with a final breath, I left this mortal form, returning once more to the vastness of the divine. But hear me now, Krishna is not gone. Krishna does not fade. Wherever there is love, wherever there is wisdom, wherever there is Dharma, there too am I, for I am Vishnu, the preserver. And I return again and again whenever the world calls for me. The cycle of time never stops. Ages rise and fall, and with each passing era, Dharma is tested. Good and evil dance in an endless battle. And when the world falls into its deepest darkness, when corruption spreads like poison in the veins of creation, when righteousness becomes but a whisper lost in the storm of chaos, I shall return one final time. This is the prophecy of Kalki, the warrior yet to come, the final incarnation of Vishnu, the harbinger of the world's great renewal. We now stand in the Kali Yuga, the age of decay, the last and most turbulent of the four great ages. In this era, men shall forsake virtue for greed. Lies shall be spoken as truth. Tyrants shall rise and Dharma shall wither. The holy rivers will run dry, temples will crumble, and even those who claim to be wise will be blinded by corruption. Humanity, once noble, will forget its purpose. The rulers of the world will become oppressors, and the weak will have no refuge. In this darkest of times, when there seems to be no hope left, I shall descend once more. I shall not come as a gentle savior, nor as a guide. No, in this final hour, I shall come as a warrior, a force of divine fury. Mounted upon a white horse, Devadatta, I shall ride forth from the heavens, wielding a sword that shines brighter than 1,000 suns. This blade, no mere weapon, shall be the fire of purification, severing the chains of wickedness, striking down the tyrants who defy Dharma. The armies of darkness shall tremble, and the wicked shall find no sanctuary. I shall roam the earth, across the lands, across the seas, to every corner where evil festers. No fortress shall stand against me. No power shall defy me. One by one, the false rulers, the deceivers, the corrupt, shall fall beneath the might of Kalki, and as the blood of evil stains the ground, the earth shall begin to heal. And then, the final hour will come. The great wheel of time shall complete its turn. The Kali Yuga will end, and in its place, a new Satya Yuga shall be born. An age of truth, an age of purity, an age where Dharma reigns once more. The cycle shall begin anew, and the world, cleansed of its darkness, shall rise again like the sun after the longest night. But until that day arrives, until the world reaches its final hour, know this: I am watching, I am waiting. And when the moment comes, when the earth cries out for justice, I shall return. For I am Vishnu, the preserver. I am the protector of Dharma. And when the time is right, I shall become the destroyer of darkness. You have heard my story, the tale of my 10 great descents. From the first, as Matsya, saving the world from the floods, to the last, as Kalki, yet to come, riding into the final battle. In every age and every time, whenever darkness rises, I am there. I have taken many forms, walked many paths, fought many battles, not for myself, but for all of existence. Dharma is eternal. It is the force that holds the universe together, but it is fragile, always at war with chaos. That is why I return again and again, to preserve balance, to restore righteousness, to ensure that no matter how deep the darkness, the light will always shine once more. And though my forms may change, though the ages may pass, one truth remains: Vishnu is eternal. Vishnu is within all, and all is within Vishnu. I am in the flowing rivers, in the rising sun, in the hearts of those who walk the path of Dharma. And when the time comes, when the world calls for me again, I shall return. For I am Vishnu, and my watch never ends.